Okay, so let's get started on our back. We'll start with the banana pose. So to do banana, I recommend move your hips over to the right edge of your mat, like so. And then you want to keep this hip down. Almost every time I teach banana, someone tries to do this, roll over onto their side. So don't do that. Keep your hip down. Extend your arms up. Grab your right wrist and pull yourself over. You might want to move your upper body over. Take the left leg to the left, cross the right ankle over it. And you're looking for a stretch in your right waist and ribs. If there's any kind of funkiness in your arms, like there is for me, you can reposition your arm so that you don't feel that. So that's what I've done. I just dropped my left arm a bit. Still feel the stretch, still feels safe, and I'm comfortable enough to hold this for 3 minutes. That's the key. Okay, take your time, but we're going to switch sides. As you do, you might notice what you feel on one side versus the other, right? So hopefully you can feel the power of that stretch, what that did to your body. And then just make your way into banana. This is also sometimes called banana asana, which is a cute name for the pose. Kind of a play on the traditional names that we have in yoga. I don't know what the word for banana in Sanskrit is, but I don't think it's banana. Okay, so let's unwind. Then we'll take a short rest as between sets just to relax our bodies. Good, let's bring our legs in. We'll give them a little squeeze. This is the leg cradle. Shake it out. And then to come up, we'll hinge. So to do the hinge, hands under hips, palms down, legs straight up unless there's pain in your back, and then you'll bend your knees until the pain goes away. Lift the head and neck, take a deep breath. Exhale, lower the legs toward the ground. Hover, inhale, legs up, and exhale up to seated. Okay, here's a familiar one to most, half butterfly. Okay, so the right leg will be straight, left foot to the inside of the thigh. Feel free to put something under this knee if you feel like it needs some support. Feel free to sit on something, to have blocks under your forearms or block under your forehead or even a bolster. We just want to feel stretch here, back of our right thigh. Okay, doesn't need to be super intense, and we want to relax the upper body, the arms, the head, the neck. Just relax into it. Okay, let's switch sides. This is half butterfly. Okay, again, let's just take a short break. Come back onto our back, relax for a few moments. Bringing the legs in, we'll give them a little squeeze. Might shake it off again, a little bit of movement. And then we'll hinge up. Okay, next we come to the frog pose. So, coming into a tabletop and then taking the knees as wide as they'll go. Your feet can be together or apart. They can be flexed or pointed. Up to you. Your hips can be over your knees or back toward your heels. And you can be up on your hands or down on your elbows like me. Some people, they like to rest their torso on a big pillow like a bolster, their forehead on a block. Some people like to pad their forearms. If you're on like a hardwood floor, then your elbows might be digging into that floor. All these things are personal. These are things that you decide based on your circumstance and what you're feeling in your body. None of them are an inherent yes or no, right or wrong with the pose, okay? The main thing that we don't want to compromise on is we feel the stretch in here. Okay, so we take those legs really wide. We can play around with the position of our hips and our legs to make sure that we get that stretch. The other thing we don't compromise on is, of course, the safety. So we're not feeling like we're injuring ourselves. You know, if you have sensitive knees, this posture could be problematic. And then finally, again, the time is something we don't want to compromise on. This is the one I think that many new people think is, you know, well, I'm uncomfortable, so I'm going to come out of this. And this is a very common experience in our culture, because I think the marketplace, economics, if you will, we're sort of sold the idea that technology and products and things like this can take away our discomfort. And we're encouraged to not be uncomfortable. We're encouraged that if you want a chocolate cake, you should have a chocolate cake, and you should go buy a chocolate cake right now. If you want a cup of coffee, go get a cup of coffee. It should be a good cup of coffee, and you deserve that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with capitalism and money and economics and all of that stuff. But from a spiritual perspective, from a psychological perspective, it can create in our minds this reluctance and fear and avoidance of discomfort. Now, the problem with that is many things that actually help us to be better people, physically, mentally, emotionally, to grow, to be better people for our loved ones, for the world, for everyone else, requires us to experience discomfort. And that includes often yoga postures. That they may be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean they're not doing good things for you. But again, this idea that, well, I'm uncomfortable, so I'm going to come out of this. This is something that we, hopefully, if we're being guided in yoga properly, we learn to develop what's called equanimity. So I like some postures, I dislike others, but I treat them the same. Okay, let's go ahead and come on out of that. We have one more posture in this particular set. It's a back bend. We come forward onto the belly like so. And this is the Sphinx/seal. So you want to feel a little bit of compression in your back. If you don't, you can straighten out the arms, which is what I'm going to do today. And that's the seal pose. Same thing, just a little bit deeper. Head held up, dropped forward, dropped back. Shoulders depressed or relaxed. Legs together or apart. Those are the main things that you can play around with. And again, we're looking for just a little bit of compression in our back. Pain-free, right? Injury-free, so we're not feeling like we're doing damage to our body here. Okay, so we're coming down out of that. Just relax for a moment on your belly. Okay, let's do a little counter stretch. So arms out, palms down, bend the knees, and just drop your feet gently side to side. And that should feel good in your back, like a little relief from the back bend. Okay, continuing on, we'll do a cattail. So let me see, I think I'll turn just for the sake of the camera here. We're going to bring our left leg to the left. You can see I've bent my leg, but you certainly don't need to do that. Prop your head up on your right hand and elbow. Take the right leg and scoot it back as far as you can. So move it back, use those toes. So the front of your thigh is facing the ground, essentially. Then you're going to bend the knee, reach back, grab that foot, pull the heel in towards your buttocks. And you're looking for a stretch of the front of your right thigh. If you don't feel it, take the left leg and move it closer to your face, maybe straighten it out completely. Now, some people just like keeping their head on their hand like I have it. You may not, though. So if you don't, you can lay your head on upper part of your arm. You can lay back which deepens the twist in the back bend. You might be able to get your head back on the ground. Put it on a pillow or a block or something like that as well. Okay, so let's switch sides. Again, I'm going to be turning, but you won't need to, hopefully. So on this side, from laying on your belly, you just bring your right leg up, which is the leg we were just stretching. Bring the left leg, move it back. Prop your head up on the left hand this time. I usually recommend that to start. It's just a good way to get into it, and then you can change the hand in head position if you prefer. Okay, now we feel that stretch the front of our left thigh. And again, we can play around with the different variations. Leg position, head, neck position, shoulder position. Even though usually I encourage you to be basically still, relaxed, you will have noticed that some yin postures are more active than others just inherently, and most of the back bends are. This is a back bend. So again, if I were to relax completely, I would let go of my leg, I would collapse here, I would really no longer be in the posture. So this is an important thing to understand, and we want to avoid dogmatism. So all the things that I say in class, like in yin we relax into the postures, these are generalizations. They apply maybe most of the time. They maybe apply as a guideline. So something that we are using to guide us, but we don't want to be dogmatic. We don't want to be stuck. There will be exceptions to every rule. And so we want to be really careful about, oh, well, I'm not completely relaxed in this posture, and I'm moving in this posture more than I would, say, in a forward fold. Oh, I'm not doing yin yoga anymore. No, it's a relative thing. And in some postures, movement can be a little bit of movement can be very powerful in helping us get the most out of it. especially as our body begins to open and change. The movement we want to avoid is basically of two kinds. One is fidgeting, which very often comes from the mind, comes from nervousness in the mind, and uncomfortableness, anxiety, you might say. So we just constantly fidgeting, moving. We may not even realize that's what we're doing. And then the other kind is, again, where we're trying to avoid any kind of discomfort. And so we're constantly coming out of the posture and resting and then coming back into it. And then when it gets intense, we come out of it. Now, again, if you've got an injury, that might be necessary. Okay? So again, there's exceptions to every rule. Sometimes that might be necessary. But you just want to be really honest with yourself in your practice. Because if you do that, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you're not going to get as much from the practice as you would otherwise. You're kind of interfering with your own benefit. Okay, let's come on down onto the belly. We'll relax for a moment. From there, let's press back to tabletop. We'll do just a little bit of marauding bear as a counter stretch. We can do a little bit of down dog as well as a counter stretch. Again, counter stretches, we're not looking to be still. They're not yin postures. They're part of the yin practice, but they're not yin postures. Okay, from there, let's take a seat. And I'm going to give you 3 options for this next set, and you choose the one appropriate for you. First one is the gentlest and the most accessible, but also tends to be the least intense. So if you have open hips, this may not work. You just cross your legs. Your right knees are in front of your left foot is under your right knee, and you come forward. And for some people, this is a stretch right here. They don't need anything more than that. Okay, so again, which variation we do in the posture is not a measure of how good we are at yoga or in life. I think a lot of people think if you're more flexible, then you're better. Better compared to what? Better for what? Okay, so taking the right foot, we can drop that there if we need more intensity, only if we need more intensity. So if my knee's way up here, this is not for me, okay? Not for me today. If I can bring this knee down safely, comfortably, without hurting the ankle or the knee, then great. I can come forward and it's a more intense stretch. That's all it is. If I already felt the stretch, I don't need more. The final option is if you're having trouble with either of these first two, sometimes there's a pinching here, right? We want to feel it here, but sometimes there's a pinching here. So this is called a shoelace, and you're also welcome to do this, okay? Today I'm going to do this second option. Okay, so we're going to come up and switch sides. Which version you're doing depends again on, they may all work, right? So that's the interesting thing about this group, the glutes, is there's a lot of different postures we can do to access them, a lot of variations, and they can all work. Why? It's a very large muscle group. There are 10 muscles in the group, and some of the largest muscles in our body are in that group. And what that means is in order to unwind tension from the entire group, it's very likely that we will need to access the group in different ways. And so depending on what you do, if you did a dance class last night, then you might be feeling soreness or stiffness in one area of this group. If you went rock climbing this week, then you might feel it in a different area of this group. If you sat at a desk all week, then you might feel it in a different area. Okay? So this is again why we don't want to get too rigid. You may always feel it in the same area, and that might be because you do the same things every week. But our bodies are very adaptive, they're dynamic, they change. And so you very well might find that based on what you're doing, how stressed out you are, what you're eating, which of these variations feels appropriate for you can change, absolutely. Okay, let's go ahead and come on up. We'll rest for a moment, and then we have our last of the sets in today's class. Okay, we pull those legs in, give them a little squeeze. And we finish with twisted roots. So right knee is over the left, and we drop those knees down to the left. And I encourage you to play around with head, arm, and leg positioning to maximize the effectiveness of this twist. So not to maximize the twist, that may not be safe for you. And it also may not be the most advantageous. Perhaps a less intense twist, but that targets some of the muscles in your shoulder or your neck would be better. Okay? So twists are great because they target all of these muscles in our torso and the muscles that attach to our torso and even our neck and our shoulders. So these are some of my favorite postures in all of yoga. Okay, you just gradually make your way to the other side. Same thing. This is twisted roots. Okay, let's unwind back onto our back. We'll bring those legs in, give them a squeeze. And then when you're ready, set a timer for 6 minutes. Unwind onto your back. Palms up, head centered, chin tucked in slightly, legs comfortably apart.